I'm Christiana, and could you please state your name, last name, and your film?
Absolutely. Douglas Beechwood, and my film is Mystic Maya.
What was the inspiration behind that exactly, if you could share with us?
That it's been a passion of mine for a long time. I think I have some Mayan karma. Always wanted to visit Yucatan pyramids, and back around 2007, I met the main protagonist in the film, John McCollum, who quickly introduced me to what I'll just call the Mayan Mystery Tour. He grew up in the Masonic orders. His mother was from the Native American tradition, Creek, Choctaw, and Cherokee, and his dad was on the Scottish Rite side of all those lineages. So he presented this amazing story from his own firsthand belief and experience of growing up and seeing these two traditions in being synonymous, which at that time was kind of a heretical statement. I'd read Graham Hancock, and 14 years later, Graham Hancock has a series that talks about these ancient cultural roots. But I really got, for the years that I knew John and the other people in the film, the other shamans and elders in the film, I really got a real firsthand experience into a special way of being in the natural world, a special way of communicating with the God of your heart, and of using the pyramids as we talk about in the movie as working machines to really help one elevate your state of consciousness.
Or in other words, your frequency, right?
Frequency, your vibration. Yeah, I think modern culture is beginning to have some terms again to talk about what the ancient cultures knew and accept that they really knew more than we have given them credit for.
Absolutely, and I know that you filmed it on location, correct? Most of the
scenes. On location in Belize, Guatemala, Yucatan, Mexico, and back and forth for many trips.
And then during the duration of this film, because I know it took you quite a while since 2008, correct?
It was a long journey.
Were there certain pitfalls, certain stops that really made you think, oh my gosh, do I really want to finish this?
That's a great question. And, being a filmmaker who was making other people's films and trying to earn a living, I think that was the main pitfall. Finding budget, finding impetus, having breakdowns and challenges, communications with the cast and characters in the film that, begat personal growth for both of us. But also budget, because this was all self-funded and bootstrapped. It was a challenge to find the time to set aside, and if it was a passion, I had to finish it. But the time was really a challenge. When you're, any type of a filmmaker, money is a consideration. You got to make a living. But this film also had to be made. It made me make it.
And so knowing that, how did it change you?
Ooh, that's interesting. At the beginning of this story, I could barely believe it. What I had captured in the first interviews and my first couple of tours to the Yucatan with the characters in it. The story was so outlandish. I couldn't really stand behind it. And over the years, I really became it changed me. And at this point, I feel like I'm an ambassador for the teachings, the oral tradition that the protagonists in the film had spoken so passionately about. 3/4 of them have passed on, crossed over into a better world since the film began. So it really, at this point, stands, I think, as a testament to their sacred beliefs, in a very special way that I was privileged to help transmit.
Are there any other people along this journey that you'd like to shout out and thank for their support?
Absolutely, my wife and my children for bearing with me. Of course, the people in this film, most recently, David Leonard passed away back in July. He was very excited about the upcoming premieres and was thankful to see the final cut of the film. But also, I've just got to hand it to the perseverance that it takes to put a film together. There could have been many points that I stopped, so I'll give myself a little pat on the back and some credit for keeping at it.
Absolutely, and you should be proud of yourself, 100%. Is there anything else coming up for you, knowing that you put so much energy into this?
Well, at this point, I think the world is ready for it. In 2008, I don't think the world was ready for it. In some of the talks I've had when screening and showing the film, I mentioned that if I put it out in 2008, I probably wouldn't have worked professionally again because it just would have been scoffed and laughed at. But at this point, we've seen 14 seasons of Ancient Aliens and more outlandish things than I present in the film. And I think it's going to find its way. I think it speaks to people on an intuitive level. Some things make sense. It may still upset the archaeological, anthropological mainstream, but again, we're talking people's first-person stories of their oral traditions. So there's really nothing being revealed here, just remembered.
Right. It's not a secret knowledge. It's just knowledge that needs to be shared more with the masses.
I think an uncommon knowledge. I think there have been people that hold these traditions in all lineages and all faiths that hold an esoteric lens on the world we live in. So helping to put that forward in the mainstream, which I hope this film gets to see the mainstream, gets the light of some more exposure. I think it'll help give people security in their beliefs. It certainly makes me happy that it's finding respect in the public eye.
Well, is there anything you'd like to say to Grayson and Ryan?
Oh, absolutely. Grayson and Ryan, very gracious. And this festival has been a real just gem. When I read the synopsis for the festival and looked at the background of the pair, the dynamic duo putting this on, it really opened my heart to know that there were characters like Grayson and Ryan behind it that did have heart, that wanted to give a lens for the independent cinema that isn't going to find traction, necessarily so quickly in other places. And meeting the other filmmakers here, it's been a really wonderful experience. I think for the first year running, it's a really good beginning and good feelings all around.
Absolutely, I agree. And if you could just say into the camera lens really quickly, I came here and I have no regrets.
Absolutely, I have no regrets. Absolutely no regrets. This has been the least regretful experience of my film career.